Hello there, and welcome. My name is Hido, and this is the Pantheon, where today we're delving more into Dungeons and Dragons, and there's a big, horrible dragon. Many dungeons? I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe he's guarding the dungeon. Ooh, there's a little story for us. It's Firkraag, Cunning, Instigator. So he starts a couple of fights. 5 mana for a 3/3 flying haste dragon. Whenever one or more dragons you control attack an opponent, goad target creature that player controls. So goad means during their next combat they have to attack if able. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, if that creature had to attack this combat, you put a 1/1 count on Firkraag, Cunning Instigator, and you draw a card. So, shock horror, blue has card advantage. Really, really cool. But I like the fact it's forcing us into attacking. That's really quite a unique sort of style of deck. And who doesn't love dragons? I certainly do. And you know what else I'd love? If you'd subscribe to this channel. Come and join me as we look at far more legendary creatures, doing a video like this for every single one of them eventually. There's too many, but we'll get there in the end. Without further ado, let's have a look at my number 5 pick for Firkraag. And in at number 5, well, we've got some dragons, and Chaos Dragon is wonderful. 3 mana, 4/4 flying and haste, so it can come down straight away, and guess what? It has to attack each combat if able. Way! So we can get in there straight away, get a trigger from our own creature if we attack an opponent. I think we probably will. Attacking ourselves, not feasible. So we're going to be able to get a counter on our commander and also draw a card from this card. And it's a dragon, so it's going to goad something as it swings in. Brilliant. At the beginning of combat on your turn, each player rolls a d20. If one or more opponents have the highest result, Chaos Dragon can't attack those players or planeswalkers they control this combat. Okay, so maybe we can't attack, but you know, likelihood is we will be able to attack at least someone. Maybe not the person we want, but we're going to get in there anyway. Then, if we're playing dragons, Lathless, Dragon Queen is phenomenal. 6 mana, 6/6 flyer. Whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a 5/5 dragon creature token with flying. And then pay 2 mana dragons you control, get +1/+0 until end of turn. That's all of our dragons. So if you're going very heavily into a dragon themed deck, this can just pump our entire team and then possibly kill someone. And having tons of dragons on the board is very important for this deck because we want to be able to goad as many things as we can. Then Scourge of the Throne. Our commander cares about an on-attack trigger, so let's attack twice. 6 mana for a 5/5 flying dragon with Dethrones. Whenever it attacks the player with the most life, or tied, it gets a 1/1 counter. Ooh, fancy. And whenever it attacks the first turn each turn, if it's attacking the player with the most life or tied for the most life, untap all attacking creatures. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Sadly, this doesn't have haste, but you know, there's quite a few ways to give haste in red. And this is just phenomenal. Swinging in, getting in there with the dragons, love it. Then there's the Warmonger Hellkite. I think this is already in the pre-con, but if you're in the future, this is a good card to have. 6 mana, 5/5 flying. All creatures attack each combat if able. That's everyone's. Yes, our own. Who really cares? We're playing a lot of flyers getting in over the top of our opponents. But it'll force all of our opponent's creatures to get in there. And then you can pay 2 mana, attacking creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. That's not just our attacking creatures. If it's on an opponent's turn, and our opponent's, you know, attacking in, the goaded, so they have to attack our opponent, something like that, we can buff all of our opponent's creatures and take someone out of the game. Lovely jubbly. Then we've got Utvara Hellkite, very similar to Lathless in my opinion. 8 mana for a 6/6 flying dragon. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, create a 6/6 red dragon creature token with flying. So obviously our commander has haste. A couple of the other dragons we've got have haste. So straight away we're going to get a ton of 6/6s. Really, really good. Then we've got a couple of smaller dragons here because you need to fill out your curve. You can't just be playing big, massive dragons. Obviously, dragons are generally pretty big. 2 mana for a 1/2 Dragonborn Looter. Dragon Rogue, pay 1, tap, draw a card and discard a card. Nice little effect to just have on the field, just to be able to dig deeper into your deck. And then we can just attacking with this little dragon if we so desired. Then there's the Reckless Barbarian, 2 mana for a Dragon Barbarian, 2/2. But we can sacrifice it to add double red. So a lot of our dragons cost a lot. So this is a dragon which can attack, or we can sacrifice it to cast one of our bigger dragons. Very, very useful. And there we go, nice dragon selection for you. It's like a selection box of dragon, except everything's on fire. Then let's have a look what I've got for our number 4. At number 4, we've got Volatile Rig, because yes, we want to be attacking with dragons, but there's a whole plethora of creatures that are forced to attack. And yes, we want to be goading our opponent's creatures, but we can take advantage of it by playing these lesser known cards like Volatile Rig. I remember opening this in a pack, like very near to where I started playing Magic, and just thought, Jesus Christ, this is terrible. And it still is, but it works well in this deck. 4 mana, 4/4, Construct, Trample. It attacks each combat if able. Ooh, there we go. We can draw some cards from our commander. Whenever it is dealt damage, flip a coin. If you lose a flip, sacrifice it. That's trash. And when it dies, flip another coin. If you lose a flip, it deals 4 damage to each creature and each player. Whoa, that's quite the board wipe, potentially. So this is cool because it's forced to attack, has trample, so it can maybe get some damage in there. But our commander keeps growing every time we sort of deal damage and stuff like that, so we can get it out of the 4 damage range. So if I was playing this deck, I'd play a lot of board wipes that deal damage, because our commander can outgrow that damage and then keep it on the field. Then we've got Flamewake Phoenix, which is another similar card. 3 mana for a 2/2 Flying Haste. Phoenix, sadly not a dragon. It attacks each combat if able, but it works fantastically with dragons thanks to the ferocious mechanic. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you may pay a red. If you do, return Flamewake Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield. So our commander just needs to get a single 1/1 counter, and then we'll be able to return the Flamewake Phoenix. Really, really nice, and a constant threat that we're going to be drawing cards from. Lovely. Then there's Alpine Guide, nice bit of ramp, which also fits with the sort of style of deck. 3 mana, 3/3 Human Scout. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a mounting card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle your library. Quite interesting in red. However, there is a downside. It must attack each combat if able. So we can possibly draw some cards with that. But when it leaves the battlefield, sacrifice a mountain. That's a big downside. So you really want to sort of work to protect this. Maybe, use removal spells to block it. But it's a nice sort of ramp spell, at least for 1 turn. It's a bit like a ritual. You're going to get that land, untap next turn, you're 1 mana ahead, and then maybe it dies in combat and you lose that mana. It's an interesting ritual that fills the graveyard for delve spells. And then we've got the Ram Roller. 3 mana, 2/3. It attacks each turn if able. And it gets +2, so as long as you control another artifact. Shouldn't be that difficult. A lot of the mana ramp that we're going to be playing in this deck will be artifact based, so we're going to end up with another artifact. So 3 mana, 4/3 that attacks each turn if able. Is it good? No, in no way is it, but it fits the style of deck. So there's a collection of cards that are forced to attack. And that takes me on to number 3. And at number 3, we've got Goblin Assault, because yes, this is very much sort of themed towards dragons because our commander cares about dragons, but I like the idea of using goblins, because goblins get everywhere, which will come up in a second. Goblin Assault is a 3 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token with haste. Okay, quite cool, committing to the board, but then goblin creatures attack each turn if able. So our goblin is forced to attack because it's got haste, it's come in, it goes into the sort of fray and gets slaughtered. Or maybe it's damage and then damage through, and we draw a card. But the cool thing about that text is goblin creatures attack each turn if able. Not just ours, but our opponents. So maybe we can give our opponents some goblins with Hunted Phantasm. 3 mana for a 4/6 spirit. It is unblockable, so if you somehow make this into a dragon, with some spells that make it like a changeling, something like that, this can get in and you draw some cards. And when it comes into play, put 5 1/1 red goblin creature tokens into play under target opponent's control. So with Goblin Assault, they're forced to attack. And just giving your opponents things, just anything, they're going to want to use it. So more than likely they're going to swing in. No, nice cool card, I really like it. Then Goblin Spymaster is incredible and fits the Goblin theme. I'm gobbling up these additions to the deck. Christ. 3 mana, 2/1 first strike Goblin. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, that player creates a 1/1 red Goblin creature token with creatures you control attack each combat if able. This just cements everything together. The Goblin theme, the attack if able theme, giving things to your opponents. I love it. It's just wonderful. The artwork, oh, look at his little pointy beak. Then we've got Hellraiser Goblin, which fits wonderfully in this deck. 3 mana, 2/2. Creatures you control have haste. Ooh, that's nice. All goblins and dragons will have haste. And attack each combat if able. So does everything the deck wants to do. So this is old templating, which means that this itself can attack straight away because it gives it to itself. And it must do if you cast it first combat main phase. Yeah, first main phase before combat. Pre-combat main phase. That's what I'm trying to say. So, great card that fits into the style of deck. Goblin Rabblemaster is a wonderful token generator. 3 mana, 2/2 Goblin. Other Goblin creatures you control attack each turn if able. Hey! At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 red Goblin creature token with haste. So, again, it's forced to go in. It's like a Goblin Assault. And whenever the Rabblemaster attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each other attacking Goblin. Massive. He's really, really good and constantly churning things onto the board and making them attack. Then if we want to, move slightly away from goblins, we've got a massive whale in Pursued Whale. 7 mana for an 8/8. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent creates a 1/1 red pirate creature token. Sadly, not a goblin. With this creature can't block, and creatures you control attack each combat if able. Hey! The best thing about decks like this is it forces plays to happen. Things will end up happening because everyone has to attack. So you're just lubricating the game. Oh, that's disgusting. What else is disgusting is the Goblin Diplomat. Politics. Disturbing. No, it's the fact he's pointing at his bottom. 2 mana, 2/1 Goblin. Tap. Each creature attacks this turn if able. So we can use it on our own turn, force ourselves to attack, or one of our opponents. Yes, they could attack us, but well, maybe you've made a little deal with them and they won't. Or maybe they go back on the deal and just kill you. Who really knows? But here you go, a nice Goblin selection box. Lovely. Which brings me on to number 2. And at number 2, we've got a couple of gold cards because gold is just ridiculous with this commander. It's forcing to attack, it makes things happen, and Besmirch is the best card for that. 3 mana sorcery until end of turn. Gain control of target creature and it gains haste. Untap and goad that creature. So until your next turn, that creature attacks each combat if able and attacks a player other than you if able. So maybe this isn't the best, but I think it's the most fitting. We're stealing a creature and by goading it, it has to attack that combat. So we're going to get a trigger off our commander. Then we give it back to our opponents. Then they have to attack with it that combat as well. Really, really awesome. I love it. It just fits so well. And you can sort of play a couple of mind games. You can steal a creature and then attack the opponent you've just stole it from. They're not going to want to block it and then they get it back and they have to attack someone else. It just fits wonderfully. Really cool creature. No, it's not. It's a sorcery. Then we got the Bloodthirsty Blade, 2 mana for an equipment. Quick creature gets +2% and is goaded. And you can pay a generic to attach it to target creature an opponent controls. Activate this ability only any time you could cast a sorcery. So you just put it onto a commander or maybe something with unblockable and it's just going to keep getting in there. It's constantly goaded and we're going to end up getting lots of triggers. Love it. Then Illusionist Gambit is not, well, it's sort of a gold card. I didn't use that term, but it's amazing. 4 mana for an instant. Cast Illusionist Gambit only during the declare blockers step of an opponent's turn. Ooh. Remove all attacking creatures from combat and untap them. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Each of those creatures attacks that combat if able. They can't attack you or a planeswalker you control that combat. So you're just manipulating things. Say everyone swings in at you, you go, no. attack them. And then you're going to get tons of triggers from our commander. Awesome card. Then we've got Disrupt Decorum, an absolute classic. Goad all creatures you don't control. Ooh, that's ridiculous. There's going to be a lot of chaos going on that turn cycle. Brilliant card to see. Dinner and Pollux? Pollux? What is a Pollock? Polyakov? They don't mix anyway. So there's a couple of sort of goldy cards that you might want to put into the deck. Which takes me on to my number one selection. And I love a good aura, so I do. And Mogus's Warhound, I think it's not the most powerful, but I think it fits really well into the deck. So it's a 2-mana 2/2. It attacks each combat if able, but it has the bestow mechanic. So obviously we want our creature to be attacking each combat if able, so that we get lots of triggers on our commander. But bestow allows us to cast it as an aura spell. And it's not just limited to putting it onto our creatures. So we can put this goad, essentially, one of our opponent's creatures. Yes, they can attack us, but you know, ooh, look, it's got +2/+2. Don't attack us. That's the sort of plays that you're going to have to make with this deck. But when that creature then dies, well, this falls off and becomes a 2/2. Oh, true power. I just think it's wonderful. It's great. It just fits the style of deck. And it's a card that maybe you wouldn't really see in Commander that often. Well, there's no maybe about it, but those are the sort of cards that I love, you know, being able to use them for a very sort of niche specific task. Then there's Public Enemy, a brand new card from New Capenna. 3 mana for an aura, enchant creature. All creatures attack enchanted creatures controller each combat if able. So that's going to force everyone to sort of dogpile onto one person. And if you can do it on a creature that's tapped, oh, they can't even block it. Or maybe you've tapped everything down for them. You've Giga Droused them, something like that. When enchanted creature dies, draw a card. So there's even benefits if they manage to block or kill out their own creature. Really great card and fits this deck superbly. Then there's the Bloodshed Fever. Dear God, horrible. 1 red for an aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature attacks each turn if able. Simple, effective. 1 red, not a big sort of investment. Similarly, there's of the Bitten. 1 red for an aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature is +2/+2 and attacks each combat if able. What an improvement upon this card. Although I have to say, this artwork is insane. I love it. It's so red and this. What is going on? His eyes are just exploding with pure rage. And then we've got a bloke who's just screaming. Well, you know, you can't win them all. But you do get an extra +2/+2 for the same mana cost. So look how far we've come. And there's some enchantments that I think fit this deck quite well. So, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. You know, a couple of oddball picks there. And, you know, subscribe to the channel. Come and join me to watch many more. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.